let's put an emphasis on email security. A lot of what you learned before about domains and HTML and links is also true for emails. Additionally, you have to understand that an email is like a written letter or even a postcard. So the sender, the content, logos, etc. are all forgeable. It's like a written letter that can be completely false and the letter still arrives you nevertheless. However, sending real letters in the masses is very expensive. Emails, on the other hand, cost nothing. This is where we find ourselves in the area of phishing mails. Everything is forgeable, especially the sender. I don't need to have a domain like I've shown before. I can pretend to send from any domain in the world. Email providers work on mitigating that with certain measures, but still when an email arrives you cannot be sure that it comes from the sender that is written in the email. So what do you have to do? You have to evaluate the content very prudently. For instance, check the personal salutation. Is that correct or does it make sense? What are the external links? We will go into detail about that. And usually a good hint is the linguistic quality. We've talked about this before and I've shown you a demonstration of fake links and that you usually should use bookmarks. But let's see how links look like in mail clients. It doesn't matter if you're using a webmail client or Outlook or Thunderbird. As an example, I will use Thunderbird here now. So let's say I write an email. So you see I don't need a special hacking tool or anything. Everybody can do that. So I write an email to myself. The subject would be a typical clickbait-like title, like very important or anything. Cancel the spell checking here for English. And so I would write something like important and then go to paypal.com. Okay, and I would mark this text, and again this works the same in Outlook. I would click on insert link, and then I would have to provide the link location, and I choose again my website and I say OK. And now as you can see there is a underline, so this is a link now. And it looks like paypal.com. You've seen that before. So I just send the email out. And when I open this email now, this received email I sent to myself in this case, you see that there is written important and go to paypal.com. And if I do a mouse over, you can see in the bottom left again that this link doesn't take me to paypal.com, but to my own homepage or the hacker's falsified site. So obviously I could also not put in the .com, I could just write PayPal and make it a link and the link would go someplace else. But this is the way that looks much trustworthier than anything else. So you write paypal.com as an attacker and a lot of people fall for it. So in many cases when you receive a phishing email, you immediately recognize it. Maybe because of the linguistic, because there's some wrong spelling, or it was auto-translated, or your name isn't in it, etc. But like the ideal banking Trojan, let's think about the perfect phishing mail. So all the linguistic is fine. The attacker has found out your name or guessed your name correctly. Let's say your email address has been gained by some hacking of your friends or of some online shop. And your mail address is peter.miller@example.com. So one algorithm that you could think of would be that an attacker scripts to eliminate the dot using a blank and then putting the letters into uppercase and just remove everything after the @ and so your real name would be available. So you could just put in a hello Peter Miller, so the salutation would be correct magically. And as I said, the sender could be manipulated, so the only way for you to detect that this is a malicious mail would be to detect the fake link. Now there's the option that it's just a hoax mail, so a fake news or horror story that shall be published. But if that's not the case, then the attacker wants to provoke an action from you, and there are only two options. The first one is to visit a malicious website, and the second one would be to answer your email. In former days, this would be like providing some transaction numbers, maybe even asking for your bank data. Some money laundering criminals still do that through email. So for the latter case, it should be your general knowledge that there's something wrong, but clicking on a website with the fake links, that's the hard part. And this is where you as the user have to step in. As a side note, how would I write or design a linguistically perfect email that even wouldn't surprise users of a common service? Well, I would get hold of a regular email. Let's say the PayPal terms and conditions have changed, or like this mail I have open in front of me, a Google standard mail. There are updates to service specific terms. I would just open that email. I would mark all. I would copy that into the clipboard. I would go to my new email. I would just paste it. So now I have a very good looking email. I can even copy the subject. Again, I will do a very important. And as you can see, there are many links in this email. So I can just go on one. I can say insert link. And then there's the standard Google link. And again, I can put in whatever I want. So if I invest some time, I have a really good looking email, but all the links are going into the wrong direction to my hackers or fake site. There are some security extensions to email that is usually not used on the consumer level, but in enterprises you might be familiar with it. So that's SMIME, GNU-PG or PGP, pretty good privacy. These provide, based on certificates, the same thing that HTTPS does in a way for emails. So the authentication of the sender, encryption of the email, and an integrity check of the email. So please make a distinction between the secure transmission of an email and an encrypted email. So when an email is transferred and you don't have SMIME or PGP in place, then you cannot be sure that your email is not seen by every hop that the email is transported over. Usually today that is the case because mail providers use state-of-the-art encryption technology similar to HTTPS when transferring emails between providers. But as soon as your email leaves your computer, you don't know. You just don't know. This is what SMIME or PGP would provide for you. But let's say the email is transmitted securely, then the email in plain text is stored on the mail server. So everybody with access to the mail account could read your email, for instance, the administrator or also hackers that gained access to the mail server. Again, that would not be the case when using SMIME or PGP. In the beginning of this course, I showed you a list of lowlights of IT news, and there was one entitled Zero-Click Outlook Vulnerability. What does this mean? This means that if you just open an email, an exploit is executed and your system might get infected. This is a really extreme vulnerability, which was, however, also there before, like 10 or 12 years ago. So that keeps coming back. And this is where people have to understand that the preview view in a mail client, being it Outlook or Thunderbird, means that the mail gets fully opened, just displayed in a portion of the screen. But the preview is not a preview in a sense that the mail is not fully opened. It is fully opened, just opened in a smaller window or sub-window. That means if you have preview mode enabled and you immediately recognize even that it is a phishing mail or a malicious mail, you have to click on it to delete it. If preview mode is enabled and you do that, you have opened the email, and if there is a zero-click vulnerability in your mail client, bad things have already happened in that moment. This is why I personally arranged myself over the years with not using preview mode. So if I want to open an email that I receive, I have to double click on it explicitly to open it. Last but not least, let's talk about the BCC header. It's a blind carbon copy. So you have the to address header, you have the CC, the carbon copy, and the BCC. And no matter where in the world you are, you should think twice when sending mass emails to recipients that don't know themselves and have not agreed to use their mail addresses in groups or even masses. So when you put in a lot of email addresses in the to or CC, everybody else can see who the mail is received by, and everybody can copy these mail addresses. With BCC, no one can see these mail addresses but the sender. BCC is a standard header interpreted by mail servers, which essentially leads to a copy of the email to each recipient provided in the BCC, and then this header is removed. So not even the recipient's mail server can see any of the BCC mail addresses.